Hello. Today I'm going to be ranking um, all of the games in the Ace Attorney series. Um, just off the top of my head, I have no script or notes or anything. We're just going to see what happens. Um, right off the bat, I'm going to take the Professor Layton uh, collaborative game, and I'm just going to put that here because I have not played it yet. My plan is to play it in the distant future, um, when I have also played some of the Professor Layton games, uh, just so I have, context for both series. So, nothing else to say there, really. Um, so, I mean, if we start with the first game in the series, just regular Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, I'm going to go ahead and put this in B. Although I think in the grand scheme of like all games, it might be in A. Within this series, relative to the other games in this series, I think it's somewhere near the middle. Um, I think this game it's very consistent. Um, there's not really any bad cases. I guess there are some cases that maybe aren't amazing. Turnabout Samurai and Rise from the Ashes, I think both have some pacing issues. I think they both go on too long. Especially Turnabout Samurai, which just I think it's fine to do it maybe over 3 days, but just make the days way shorter because it just goes on way too long, and it feels way more complicated than the case right after it. Even though it actually is less complicated, it just feels kind of convoluted. But it's a good case. And I guess the tutorial case, just because it's probably the most basic case in the whole game, not game, whole series, sort of has to be considered a bit weak. But for a tutorial, I think it's pretty good. I think it's pretty memorable. Um, but the other two cases, definitely the high points. They're really good. Turnabout Sisters, amazing. Um, it's a bit of an emotional wreck, I think, really, at the start is what's so powerful about it. Maybe falls off a little towards the end. I think Red White is maybe not as entertaining as he could have been for a villain of that sort of emotional magnitude. Um, but still pretty great. And then, I mean, I can't believe I've forgotten the name of the case. Oh my god, I'm gonna have to look up the name of the case. But the original final case, the fourth case in the game, where Edgeworth is the defendant. I mean, that's just probably a top five case in the whole series. It's just so good. Um, Von Karma is such a great antagonistic force. Um, he's so threatening. He's so representative of what this game is essentially protesting against. Um, so that's really effective. From a thematic standpoint, I think this game is maybe a little bit basic. I know it's like the first game in the series, so all the other games have like the advantage in this regard because they can just build on what this game sets up. But it does feel really one-sided. Like it's all sort of pro the defense and against the prosecution, which I feel like that nuance is present pretty much across the entire rest of the series. So I do take a bit of an issue with it. Um, but yeah, I mean, just a really solid game, great template, really enjoyable. Um, and it's pretty straightforward as well. it's a good introduction to this series. Yeah. Then I guess if we just go, well, I was gonna say if we just go to Justice for All, but that's a more, there's more going on with that one, I think, to talk about anyway. There's more that I want to talk about with it, so I might save that for a moment. I might go over to, let's go to Spirit of Justice. This is a game I don't really have much to say about. It's just gonna go straight into C tier. Um, my memory of this game is pretty shoddy. It's been a while since I played it. I haven't played the remaster of this second trilogy. I've only played the originals on emulator, so it's been a while since I played this game. But my memory of it, at least, is that it's got its ups and downs. I think the parts in the US, I guess the US is where it's set, right? The regular like country. Um, those two cases are really boring. They definitely pull it down. And I mean, in general, I think the 3D aesthetic on all of the 3D games, so both of these and Dual Destinies, all four of these, I just don't like how they look as well, which I think definitely doesn't help. Um, and then I think my final complaint would be, I've got two complaints actually still. My final complaint will be, no. First of those complaints, the twist is really hyping itself up a bit too much. The idea that, I guess spoilers, the idea that the queen is evil, they really think it's like a shocker, but it isn't at all, because the system is so fucked and so corrupt and so bad that there is no way that the person in charge of the entire system doesn't have like something to do with that. There's absolutely no way. It's so obvious that she is like evil. Um, so I just don't think it works in that regard. I think it's just got some serious problems in that regard. However, on the plus side, I really like that they go to a different country. I think that's really awesome. Changing up the sort of legal system. I think that's a good idea. I think that makes it feel very fresh. I really like the sort of trio relationship, three-way relationship between Apollo and Dirk and Nayuta, I think is his name. That's great. I like Phoenix in this quite a bit more. Spoilers, I guess, for the list. Quite a bit more than I do here. In Dual Destinies. I really like Maya. I think she's great. All of those things are great. Some of those other side characters, the little boy who I've forgotten the name of, and the like random like rebel soldier guy, are annoying. I don't like them. I think the tutorial case is too simple for a game this late into the series as well. But overall, it's not a bad game. It's a completely fine game. It's a passable game. It's enjoyable, but it does have quite a few notable issues. So I can't put it above C. And then since I've already talked about it a bit, I'll get this out of the way. I don't think I am going to quite be willing to put anything in F, because I think this game does have quite a few merits to it, but it's definitely my least favorite. I really do not like the Phoenix retcon, making him a lawyer again. I think this was a mistake. I think they should have done it between this game and Spirit of Justice, because Phoenix works here. It makes sense that he's doing lawyery things. Now he's in a different country. He's expanding his horizons again. But here, first of all, it feels like he's almost regressing as a character. And second of all, making him a focal character detracts from Apollo and Athena, especially Athena, and they get very little development compared to what they could have had if this wasn't retconned. So Athena is almost a pointless character in the grand scheme of the series. There's almost no purpose to her character at all. I feel like she's a very entertaining character, and I do like her backstory, but there's just no impact to it because there isn't time, because they've got three central protagonists to focus on. I also think that Simon Blackwell, I know he's loved as a prosecutor. I'm not as in love with him because I just don't like his personality at all. But again, he has a good backstory. This whole game, the backstories across the board are great. But in the moment stuff is pretty bad. You're looking at, I would say, kind of consistently uninteresting cases. Especially the first three cases are all uninteresting. Um, it gets a bit better at the end though, and I'd say the DLC. I didn't even talk about the DLC with Spirit of Justice, but that DLC is not very good. This DLC is really good. It really sold me on, actually sold me on the 3D a little, to be honest, because I was really doubtful and I didn't enjoy it across this game. But I think it looked really good there. I think it was utilized kind of well, and I liked Pearl coming back for that DLC, and I liked the killer. I thought he was really cool. Nothing like incredible, but just a basic idea executed very well. And it was a little hard to see coming, I think, in a really impressive way, considering how late into the series that case is. So I have to give it some props. That case alone drags it out of F. The DLC alone drags it out of F. I'm not fond of or against the detective, who I'm going to be honest, I can't remember the name of, being the villain, because I've always wanted it to be something like that, but they've obviously already done policeman. But like the actual detective being the villain, I was sort of wanting that to happen at some point. But the whole like shadow concept where he keeps taking off his face, it's very goofy, it's very silly, so it sort of fits within Ace Attorney like canon and sort of how it does its things, but I'm just not a fan of it, I guess. I don't know how else to describe it. I need to take a drink. Sorry about that. But yeah. Unfortunately, D tier, it's my least favorite game. It's not going to be the only game in D, I don't think. It might be, but I don't think it will be. I'm still deciding, I guess. I guess now, I really have. There's only one other game here I really don't have too much to say about. I guess there's no. Well, there's a few games I don't have that much to say about, but this one sort of have very little. It's just I think I'm just gonna put it in D as well. I think this game is just boring. It's the most forgettable game in the series for sure, at least to me. I like the gameplay switch up. I like being able to move around in the world. I like how the evidence stuff works in this game. I like Lang and I like Kay and I like Gumshoe. But the cases are so uninteresting. Very, very predictable. All of them are predictable. There's nothing unpredictable across the entire game. There's nothing really surprising about it. The kidnapping, they're really happy. They're really pleased about that. I feel like very obvious. The final case, the old guy, of course he's faking it. Like, at this point, you've got to think of something smarter or actually come up with something that's like thematically interesting, I feel like. And there are some kind of interesting themes here with the whole like split embassy stuff. But they just are too far in the background as well. And I would just say this is just forgettable. And then I don't actually have too much to say about these games. I think everyone knows both of them are great. I'm probably just gonna chuck this. It's gonna be something like this. I'd say the second half I do prefer, because it's just a very tense move, and I guess a big spoiler again, because this is a spoiler I would hate to receive for these games. But having one of the judges be a killer is genuinely was a surprise, and I really appreciated that case in particular. Additionally, killing a character that important was very ballsy. I have to give it props for that alone. That alone puts it in B. But the whole of the second half of this game is really tight, really smart. Every character is on point. The backstories are on point. It's so creative, it's so great. And this is a really good game from the perspective of setup as well. But the only issue I really have is the case on the ship I hate. I don't hate, I guess, but like I don't like it. It's just it's all investigation. I think it's the only case in the series that's only an investigation, apart from like Edgeworth investigation stuff. Obviously, it doesn't work in that regard. And it just feels so anticlimactic. And I know it's not because he's still alive, but it really feels anticlimactic when you get around to it, and that really disappointed me. And I'm not a big fan of Herlock Sholmes. I think he's fine, but I don't love him, and I don't really love Iris either. What else do I have to say about that? I am a big fan of the little Irish fella. I've completely forgotten his name. It's like Muck something, and he's definitely Irish because you can read all of his lines in an Irish accent, and it sounds perfect. That case is really good, even though it's just in court for the whole thing. I think that case is great, and I like the jurors as well. So yeah, both these games, lots of good stuff. We all know it. They're great. But I think at the end of the day, these four games, probably the ones I have the most to speak on, really. At least I think I do. So I guess if we start with Justice for All, I'm going to put it in C. But I'm going to put it below. This is like ordered correctly, by the way. So this is like 10, 9, 8, 7. I wouldn't say this is like 6 and 5 or anything, but you know, these are the bottom four for me. With Justice for All, it has some real high points. You know, Matt on Guard, and that whole case. Whew, that's incredible stuff. Shelley the Killer is so good. He's such an amazing character as well. Pearl is amazing. The Morgan Fay is amazing, and I really like the twist in that case as well. The whole like facial surgery stuff, really good. Although I will say the like BMW left-hand side of the road thing maybe a little bit bullshit. That one always sticks in my mind as like a little bit too much of bullshit of a line of logic, like especially for me because I'm from the UK. I'm not thinking about that at all, right? Like I just am not thinking about that at all. So maybe if you're American, it's easier to get it. I don't know, or from anywhere really, but like I don't get that at all. I was stumped there for maybe 20 minutes or something first time I played. And yeah, the final case, amazing, just across the board. The other two cases, the tutorial case, is the amnesia thing. Oh my god. I get it. They couldn't think of anything else to do to remake a tutorial. Fine. But they could have also like made a more interesting case. I'd argue that this is an even less interesting case than the previous game's case, tutorial case, which is really not what is expected of the series. Generally they get harder and harder, but this one's so easy. And I mean, I have defenses of Turnabout Big Top. A few. I don't mind Mo. I know he's the most hated part of that case generally, but I don't mind him. I think he's kind of charming. I think he's a kind of likable character. The ending with him sort of taking over from the previous guy who died is kind of sweet, and I don't mind Acro either. And the whole bust under the wheelchair thing, which is like insanely stupid, but you know, Why didn't they check under there when he came in? Why didn't, anyone see? Because that blanket isn't going around the back of the wheelchair. I don't know, but whatever. It's Ace Attorney. It's bullshit. Who cares? What I hate in Turnabout Big Top is, first of all, the music is awful. And then second of all, there's just two straight up pedophiles. Right? I don't remember how old Max is, but he's like 25. And Benjamin Woodman is like in his 30s, and they're both lusting after like a 16-year-old girl. And it just rubs me the wrong way. It's just really gross. So, yeah. For me, that is what makes it the worst case in the series. I know there's other creepy shit that happens in these games, but I don't think anything else is on that level, at least in my memory. And the thing is, it's not even treated as some sort of weird thing. It's just like treated like it's normal. Which is really strange, because I think Ace Attorney is pretty good generally with child characters and not doing anything like that, but it just completely throws it out the window with Regina. So yeah, very annoying, but yeah, definitely the most ups and downs of any game, even though it's shorter than most of the games. Which is quite impressive. I think more than anything, I really respect what it's going for. It's sort of admitting the whole thematic issue I mentioned here, and going back on itself and making it a bit more balanced in terms of the back and forth between the prosecution and the defense with the whole Mountain Card thing, and I have so much respect for that. So for that alone, I can't put it in D, even if it has easily the worst case in the whole game. Game? Series. I keep saying game instead of series. I'm not thinking straight. I guess I'll do this one next. The second Investigations game is my favorite game, and I'm gonna admit I also have only played the old fan translation emulator, so I can't tell you what these characters' names actually are now. I know they have been officially translated and they are not the same as the fan translation, but I don't know what they are, so I'm just gonna have to call them by the names in the fan translation. I apologize if you don't know who I'm referring to. I think it might be kind of obvious through context, hopefully. This is my favorite game. I think the story is so neat. I think the way it expands upon the gameplay in the first game, which is the highlight of the first game, is great, and I think it makes Kay even more likable. I think it makes Gumshoe even more likable. It gives Edgeworth a real good thematic conflict, and it's the closest I've ever come to really thinking like maybe he will change his opinion, but rather than like completely switch his opinion and become a defense attorney, which is almost what it's setting up to do. It comes to such a mature conclusion. It's really impressive to me. I'm really happy that that's the conclusion it comes to, and I know that's mostly just so they can keep continuity, but it's still really impressive. I really like that Shelley the Killer comes back because he's one of my favorite characters, and I love the other guy, the other blind assassin, Sirhan Dogan, I think. I love him as well. They're both great, and I love all of the villains, all of the killers. This is maybe the only game where every single killer I'm like, holy shit, this is an amazing character, and it's really good. Even Knightley, the first guy, yeah, his reason for doing the killing is piss poor, and in that regard he's not interesting, but he's a really entertaining character. He's a really great presence when he's in the game, and then to kill him for to be the next victim is incredibly smart, and it links him into the broader case in a really effective way, because originally it just is like, oh, he's the bodyguard of the president, but it's actually the president's double, and the president's double is evil and planned the death of the president. Which is in itself a really interesting idea. I really like having two, like, that idea, because that's so good. Now I think about it, that's so good. I haven't even thought about this before. That could be like a 10 out of 10 film plot where like the president's body double kills the president and takes his place, and nobody knows. Just takes his life. Holy shit, that's so cool of an idea. I wonder if there is. If there probably is. Maybe there is. I'll have to check. That's just so smart. um, that's incredible stuff as well. And the fact that both Blaze, the best, and the warden of the prison are linked into that is really smart. The warden of the prison, everything in the prison is just incredible. The whole prison, that's incredible. And that's like the worst case in the game, and it's still like it's like a 9 out of 10 case. I can't believe that. It's so good. Bringing back Frank Sawit, genius. What an incredibly like smart way to do fan service. I really like the boxer guy as well, even though he's just like a weird little gimmick guy. I need to take another drink. But like he's just like a gimmick, and yet he's still like one of the best characters. Just full stop. He's just incredible. He's so cool, and like his little bear. Is it a bear? Oh my god. Ah. And then of course the introduced characters who run it down for the rest of the game in that. Holy shit, that's 3 masterpieces of writing. I think Ray maybe a little bit weaker than the other 2. I like him. I like his relationship with Gregory. I like everything about him in the 3rd case. After the 3rd case, he's just sort of there, and he's not that entertaining of an on-screen presence. He's probably the weakest part of like the reoccurring cast in this game. But oh my god, Justine and Sebastian are just... I mean, I know that's not their actual names, but like, you know, the judge and the pompous dickhead kid are like, what? I really wasn't expecting... Oh, fucking hell. Excuse me. I wasn't expecting anything like that from them when they showed up. But the amount they can do with them is so impressive. Sebastian is such an inspiring story of sort of defying toxic parental expectations. It's really well done. It's not particularly unique, but it's really well done. And then Justine, I just love her. Might be my favourite character, aside from like Phoenix himself and Edgeworth. Like, she's just so brilliant. I mean, I could gush about this forever. I haven't even talked about the 3rd case and going back and forth in time, and Von Karma is there, and he's better than he was in the first Investigations game where they had a flashback to him, although that case is the best case in this game. I just sort of forget. That case is kind of good, but it's nothing on the Sugar Candyland one, and it's so sad. The defendant in that guy, Jeff Masters, his story is so sad, and it made me genuinely tear up at the end of that case when he was reunited with the lady. That was so incredibly well done. Holy shit, and that's a really good killer again. What a killer. Just so evil. One of the most evil people. He's just straight bad. Like, it's incredible. That's just, and yeah, the closure on that case alone, and there's 2 cases after that, the closure on that case alone is amazing. Then Catching Blaze the Best, that case, everyone loves that case, I feel like, but I would say maybe is a little weaker, but like, it's still amazing. The setting, Lotta is there, and there's the other reporter, I just forgot about her. She's amazing as well. I really like her and Lotta, both of them, and I think they're distinct enough that it isn't like annoying that there's 2 of them, which is really impressive because they're very similar. There's like they're really treading that very fine line where it could almost be annoying, but it isn't. But that case is great. It's maybe the one I can't remember as well, but I love it. The final case, it's a bit long. It's just so good though. I really like the child. I feel like he could be annoying. I don't really mind him. I like that they bring back like penny nickels. I really like that the twists. I just love Simon. Um, oh, it did blindside me. I would say nothing in the series blindsided me as much as that. Even though process of elimination should probably mean you work it out like 15 or so minutes before, but I just wasn't paying enough attention to like that particular aspect, so it really came out of nowhere, and it came out in my mind like exactly when it was supposed to, and that's the only time that's ever done that. Even with Godot, which I'll talk about later, um, I saw that coming a little earlier than I think the game wanted me to, but nothing did it like that for me, and it was so effective. And he is a a little more one note than I would like, but it's still amazing. And that twist alone is just completely fine by me. Like, I don't mind it. I was really thinking like they were going to put out something ridiculous. I was coming up with some ridiculous ideas. That's a story for another time. I've been going way too long about this game now. It's amazing. It's my favorite. It's going to be probably alone in S. But I'm going to say I think both of these will be an A. Maybe this will be in B. I'm leaving Apollo to the end because like it is probably the most divisive game in the series. So it's probably most sensible to leave to the end. Trials and Tribulations is definitely A. It's definitely my second favorite game in the series. Um, it blew me away. I would say yeah, even in comparison to the first game, it's maybe got a little more of a low point. In the form of the third case, which I've seen people really say like it's too bonkers, stuff like that. Is it really? I just thought it was hilarious. I thought it was all of the twists to do with it. I was just laughing so much. I was having an amazing time. So even if it is a bit, even maybe too far-fetched for Ace Honey, I found that great. I just think the setup was too long. The first day is just a bit too boring and a bit too long. And I don't really like the old guy with the nose. I think he's annoying, and he's also a bit creepy, same as in Turnabout Big Top, but not quite as severe. And yeah, the guy, the restaurant owner, some of the comments I guess the game makes about him maybe have aged. I wouldn't even say aged poorly. They just were written poorly. But minor things, minor things. It's not as severe as Turnabout Big Top. Um, the other four cases are so good. The first case is so good. It's the template for a good Ace Attorney tutorial case. It's so good. It is quite long for a tutorial, but I don't mind because it's so good and the killer is so effective, and having Phoenix be the defendant is so effective. It's really, really smart, and I like Mia a lot. I like young Mia a lot. That really helps because they really do sell her as like some sort of almost godlike figure in a way in the first two games, and she doesn't have enough sort of evidence to back that up. But this game really pulls on that. It really focuses in on like this is why she's so awesome. I really like that. Second case, love the theft part. I think that's awesome because it's not a murder. But even when they did the twist and it's like, oh, it's actually a murder and Godot tricked you, which I'll talk about Godot in a bit because I've got so much to say about him. But then it still didn't even like annoy me because I was like, but that's even smarter than just having it be a straight theft, because it is. And it really shows like Godot is like probably like the second smartest person or third smartest person in the whole series, maybe, behind Phoenix and maybe Kristoff. But he's so smart. He's really thinking outside the fucking box. The only issue is that he literally kills somebody, so obviously he's gonna get caught. The fourth case, I'm surprised I enjoy so much considering how short it is and how late into the game it is combined. But I really do like it, and it's because of how sorry you feel for Terry. It it's so upsetting, and it's really nice to see young Godot as well. I mean, Godot's just amazing. Uh, the design, he's the best designed character. You've got to admit that as well. His theme is amazing as well. It's the best theme in the series. It's almost the best soundtrack in the series, but Apollo is the best soundtrack in the series. I'm just gonna say that. Now, the worst ones are the more recent ones, the sort of orchestral stuff. I prefer the sort of, bitty stuff more to the violins and crap. Um, that's just me. I think it's more appropriate given the tone of a lot of these games. It works for Great Ace Attorney because that's more serious a lot of the time. It doesn't work for Spirit of Justice that much, and it really doesn't work here at all. Um, anyway, Godot in the fifth case. I cried. I cried at the end of that case. I cried at the end of Bridge to the Turnabout. I think it's reasonable to say that Bridge to the Turnabout is the best case in the series. Um, I don't know anyone who wouldn't say that, actually. I really don't think I know anyone who wouldn't say that. It's so good. There's probably somebody, but I mean, it's so good. Um, Having Misty be the victim, whew, Pearl and Maya. I mean, Maya's barely even in it, and she sells me. Pearl is incredible in that. That's probably the pinnacle of Pearl. Um, I think Bikini is one of the most underrated witnesses because she's just trying her best. She really doesn't want Iris to be the killer, but it's what she fucking saw, and she's not being malicious, and that's so relieving that she's not lying. She's just wrong because it's so rare. And Iris is amazing. Obviously, there's no reason to explain that. It's Iris, awesome. I like the twist as well. That it's not Dahlia. Woo! But that it is Dahlia as well. Whew, it's all just amazing. Yeah. What a game. What a game. And then finally, I still am not even certain of where to put it. Let me just leave it. I can't put it back down there. Fuck. Okay, I'll leave it and haven't played. Because I still am not sure. It's gonna be B or A, and it could be here, but it also could be here. It could be here, 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 or here. There's 5 different places I could put it. So I really have to think this through. Because the thing is, in my opinion, Apollo has the most impressive version of Phoenix. It's just incredible what they do with Phoenix. I know a lot of people probably don't like it still. People definitely didn't like it at the time, otherwise they wouldn't have retconned it. I don't get that at all. I think he's amazing. This is peak Phoenix, smartest Phoenix. I love that he's sort of giving way for Apollo to take the reins of the series. I love Trucy as well. She's amazing. She's so charming. And then, I mean, everyone knows that the first case, the tutorial case, is somehow one of the best cases in the series, even though it's just a tutorial. And that's because of Phoenix. That's not because of Apollo. That's because Phoenix is doing that shit. So if you're hating on no, not a lawyer Phoenix, think about that. That's all him. He basically carries that case on his back. The twists around that, Kristoff in that, so good, and I like Olga too. Also, this is the best looking game in the series. The pixel art reached its peak here, and then they moved over to the 3D stuff, which I'm gonna say I don't hate, but it looks worse. It's also the best sounding game. I already mentioned that. I think the bracelets are an excellent mechanic. I think the second case, yeah, it's a little bit boring. In fact, more than a little bit boring. I think it's boring. I think it's the weakest part of maybe the whole game. Other than that, the emulator is horrendous. The controls on it are really bad, and that's the only way I've experienced it, so I can't really comment on what they've done since then. But the fingerprinting and stuff, I just remember being awful. It was almost impossible to do. Then... But yeah, second case, Yeah, it's disappointing. A lot of the characters are annoying. I don't think the defendant is that annoying. I think a lot of people don't like him. I don't mind him. I don't mind the dad, but I hate the killer. I hate the fucking uni guy with the silly graduation cap. Um, and I mean, yeah, okay. Now I think about it, he's also in that like pedo shit category. Cause like, what the fuck? Bleh. But I don't. I just think that case is also really forgettable. I can't remember what the method was. I can't remember what actually happened in the killing. I just remember who it was and like who the characters were. And Clavier, he's really cool, and I like his conflict in the final case. But the first two cases he's in, he's basically just a stand-in. It feels like he's nowhere near as impressive as Godot or Franziska or Edgeworth. So it feels like he's just sort of there. But in the final case, it's great having him sort of having to go against his brother, who obviously has like a major power and influence over his actions. I'm a big fan of that. Um, I need another drink. The third case, I don't know what people's opinions on it are, but I like it. I like the killer. I like the setup with the concert. I like the twist of who is blind. That was really smart. I thought that was really cool. Um, I like the whole sort of smuggling thing that's going on as well. I think it could have been put like maybe gone in a little bit further, but I think fundamentally like the template is there, and they don't execute it poorly. They just don't execute it amazingly, which is unfortunate. But what are you gonna do? And of course, that final case is so incredible. The first part where they're just defending Farah, I like it a lot. Um, I like the investigation stuff there. I remember the fingerprinting being impossible to do, but I like that it's there. And when I like Emma in this, I used to not like her in this, but I changed my mind the second time I played it. I really liked her a lot. I completely forgot to mention that. I really like her in this. Um, and I really like Vera, and I like Drew even more as well. He's one of my favorite victims. Which is a weird thing to say, but it's true. He is. I really like him. Um, I'm not. I understand the complaint that the second half of that case, going back and forth in time, but maintaining the evidence from the future when you go back in time, doesn't make any sense. But I don't care. I just think it's fun. And the actual way the investigation is done, the character stuff there, it's all really good. Oh, and the postage stamp, the stamp. Oh my god, that's good. So good. Whew. Really good. Really good. Oh, forgot about that. And they bring back Mike Meekins. I think I have to put it in A, but I'm gonna put it at the bottom of A. So I think that is gonna be the finalized list. So my favorite being Edgeworth 2, then Trials and Tribulations, then Great Ace Attorney 2, then Apollo, Great Ace Attorney 1, First Game, Spirit of Justice, Justice for All, First Investigations, um, Dual Destinies. That's my ranking. Hopefully I gave a pretty good explanation as to why that is. Um, yeah, I mean, feel free to let me know what your opinions are. Feel free to know if, this is dead wrong. Maybe you love Dual Destinies. Maybe you hate, Not a Lawyer like Phoenix. That's probably what the most, like, the big sort of thing that I feel like. That's got to be the most divisive part, right? Of the video. Even if I did it the other way around, it would be divisive. Um, I don't know. Just, yeah. Um, yeah, that's all I've got to say. Um, cool. Bye.